Donald Trump's new 20-point framework is meant to end the 2-year war in Gaza and install an internationally backed transitional administration. Israel has formally accepted the deal. Washington, Cairo and Doha are pushing for a swift answer, but Hamas has reacted with deep suspicion. Mediators reached al-Din al-Haddad, the last major commander of Hamas's military wing inside Gaza. His response has been blunt. The plan, he believes, is crafted to destroy Hamas, whether it signs or refuses, and that perception sets the tone for the movement's hesitation. Disarmament is the central sticking point. The plan requires Hamas to hand over all weapons within a transitional security arrangement. For a group whose identity is built on armed resistance, this is existential. The hostage clause is equally toxic. All remaining hostages, around 48, perhaps fewer than half alive, must be released in the first 72 hours. That would surrender Hamas's only major bargaining chip before it sees real concessions. There is profound mistrust of Israel, and even with Trump's guarantee, Hamas points to the Israeli attempt last month to kill its leaders in Doha, despite US pressure, as proof that promises of restraint mean nothing. Hamas is fractured but not broken. The external leadership in Doha and Istanbul appears more pragmatic. They signal willingness to accept the plan with modifications, partly because Qatar and Turkey are urging them to avoid annihilation. But the fighters and field commanders in Gaza, who control the hostages and have borne the brunt of Israel's campaign, are sceptical. Their calculation is that Israel is under pressure, reservist mobilization is costly, Netanyahu faces political turmoil, and international opinion is restive. They believe continued guerrilla resistance would outlast Israel's will. This means that while some Hamas officials call for negotiation, the people with guns and leverage may veto compromise. Several elements inflame suspicion. The US and Arab-backed International Stabilization Force would enter Gaza. Hamas sees this as an occupation by another name. The buffer zone mapped along Gaza's border with Israel and Egypt could formalize loss of territory and movement. And Netanyahu himself has muddled the waters. After nominally accepting Trump's plan, he's posted a video saying Israel would remain in parts of Gaza and would forcibly resist any Palestinian state. That undercuts Trump's promise of full withdrawal and a credible pathway to self-determination, reinforcing Hamas's distrust. Despite its defiance, Hamas is weakened. al-Haddad and Israeli sources estimate 90% of its senior commanders are killed, 97% of its rockets destroyed or fired, and a large part of its tunnel network is collapsed. Yet it still survives by shifting to cell-based guerrilla warfare in Gaza City, the central camps and the coast. Recruitment of poorly equipped but motivated young fighters continues. Civilians, however, exhausted, and 66 are dead. Famine is confirmed in Gaza City and mass displacement. Many Palestinians now say end the war at any price, even if that means Hamas's removal. This civilian pressure matters. A rejection could hand Israel and Trump political cover to finish the job. The analyst Kima Abu Sada put it starkly. Hamas must choose between the bad and the worst. Accepting could mean organizational suicide and the end of its rule. Rejecting could unleash an Israeli assault with full US and Western support, now framed as justified because Hamas has spurned peace. Some leaders hope to say yes, but with changes, demanding phased disarmament, longer hostage exchanges, guarantees of Palestinian political rights, and clarity on the stabilization force. But Trump has set a short deadline and hinted at a red line if Hamas stalls. The wider regional and political pressure is there. Egypt cautiously backs the plan, but it wants details on governance and security. Qatar and Turkey press Hamas to deal. European capitals may join Washington in blaming Hamas if it refuses. And Netanyahu, meanwhile, is playing a double game, publicly supportive to avoid US anger, privately signalling to his right wing that he won't concede Palestinian statehood. Hamas faces perhaps the most consequential decision in its history. Its military core sees surrender, its political wing fears annihilation if it refuses. Civilian desperation and international impatience are growing. Trump's deadline and his threat to draw a red line mean the window for bargaining is short. The likeliest outcome, according to analysts, is a conditional acceptance, with Hamas asking for revisions on disarmament timing, hostage sequencing and the stabilization force while trying to preserve a political foothold. But if the Gaza commanders veto compromise, the group may gamble on survival through continued war. Either way, the response will define not only Gaza's future, but the wider question of whether Hamas remains a central actor in Palestinian politics or is destroyed trying to hold on.